not very informal.
Tom, I'm not in any way implying animus at all, but I was told that people from someone in the building, they were just cool the way you and Antonio seemed to fit like a hand in glove. There didn't seem like an acclamation. You guys just instantly started working together. For you, was that something special, the way you two have been able to mesh?
Yeah, it's a big part of the job. I mean, especially during the football season, even now you spend more time with the head coach than you do with your wife, so you have to get along really well. It's just fun to go through the process, even though it's a new process with a new group of people, but yeah, you want it to be kind of seamless, but we're not there yet, but it's been a good process. Like I said, I think I said at the podium, just watching how he worked through the assistant coaches process, because I've been through that where we've made mistakes, where we've hired somebody too fast, and watching him go through that process was just really, it was an eye-opener. I'm like, he's a pro. He knows how to do this. So, and as we work through this, but a lot of, football's football, but, it's a people business and relationship building amongst all levels, players and coaches, front office and coaches, and everybody alike. So it's a big part of it.
Tom, you had mentioned that a lot of work to do offensively. Are we talking more scheme? Is it talent? Is it personnel? What would you?
Well, it'll be a new scheme just based on a new coordinator.
Yeah.
And then, if you look at the offense, like right now, like just for agency-wise, like our offensive line is, has a lot of holes, so we got to kind of figure that all out. So it's going to be a collaborative effort amongst the coaching staff and personnel staff to kind of get this thing moving.
You've been in the AFC West for a long time. Now that you've gone through the roster, how close do you feel like the Raiders are to competing with those guys who just won a back-to-back championship?
Yeah, impossible to answer how close you are, but we're going to keep working towards it. So I was asked earlier on another interview, when you build your team, are you building your team's foundation, or are you building a team to beat the Chiefs?
Right.
I'm like, well, the answer is we're building our team's foundation, but you can't help but see, the Super Bowl champs are right in our division, and Patrick Mahomes is there. So as you go through the process, we're looking at Denver, we're looking at Kansas City, looking at the Chargers, obviously, which I should say I know them pretty well, but they're going to be completely different next year. So as you build your football team, you need to build us first, but you can't help but have your eye on the division team. You can't help but have your eye on the Chiefs and how you match up with them. But our plan is to we know we have to build, okay, but I don't see this as trying to tear everything down and start from scratch. We want to be able to compete and win along the way, so that's the goal.
What's the biggest challenge evaluating quarterbacks before the draft? As far as looking at these young guys and figure out what they're about and what you can project for them going forward?
It's like all the positions. You're projecting them to the next level. So there's a lot of players that are really great college players that just don't pan out at this level. So trying to project forward on these players, we have it so much easier than other sports. Imagine a baseball scout trying to project a high school senior to a Major League Baseball player. That's hard. We have it easy. We've watched, these quarterbacks are all big school quarterbacks, so we've seen them play against other big schools. But still, there's a jump there, and can you do that the same thing at this level? So, you put enough scouts' opinions, coaches' opinions, and then head coach's opinion and my opinion, and you kind of get that all together, and you try and make the right decision. You try and increase your odds on the player you take, no matter what position it is, that you're going to hit on the guy. But we all know that we're not right all the time. So,
Tom, you go through your history, and Jim Kelly, Peyton Manning, Philip Rivers, Justin Herbert. You know what a big-time quarterback looks like. Does that make you more aware that you need that kind of a quarterback, or do you feel like there's other ways to win games?
Well, everybody's looking for that Patrick Mahomes, obviously. But those guys you just mentioned, where it helps me is I know what they put into the job inside the building that people don't see, that you don't see on tape, and what it takes to be a quarterback in this league. Justin Herbert and Philip Rivers and Peyton Manning, and how they prepared to play this level, what you have to do. I think that helps me being around those guys and know what it takes. It's more than just watching tape of a player, especially at the quarterback position, because so much of the game is from here up. And how do you evaluate this? And this is hard. So seeing those guys on a day-to-day basis at least helps me, for wherever down the road, whoever we take, we got to have those same qualities.
You've never had to trade up for any of those guys. When you think about that, does that make you? Are you less reluctant to do that? People say, well, he's never done it before, but you never really had to.
Yeah, you just trading up at any point in a round, you have to weigh it. How bad do you want the player, and how much are you giving up, and what are you losing with that? So it's just a judgment decision. And part of that is we may think we know the player is going to hit, but we really don't, right? We just don't. You never 100% know, but you have to weigh what you're giving up, and could that set you back or can you handle it? So that's all judgment decisions.
Is there a price that's too high? If you feel like you identify your guy, is there somewhere you're like, I can't go past this?
Oh, I'm sure there probably is.
Tom, do you envision exploring the veteran quarterback market at all this offseason, or is it pretty much about the draft?
No, we'll explore every avenue, and I like the quarterback that we have. I mean, I thought he did a really good job last year. Rookie quarterback to come in and play the way he played in the circumstances he played in, I think that you should not discount that.
It's something, I know we talk about trading up, but I believe so. In your tenure with the Chargers, you never traded down. Is there something philosophically that you were against trading down, or did it just not come together?
No, I would love to trade down. It just didn't, in those circumstances, it just didn't present itself in something we thought made sense for us. But certainly not a philosophical reason to not doing that.
Now that you've started to dive in and look at the Raiders, is there something that's pleasantly surprised you that maybe you weren't expecting?
There's a lot of things because I just didn't know much about the team, the organization until I got here. There's a lot of people in the building that are really impressive with what they do in all different departments, and that's things you don't know until you get there. That's been great to see. Actually, the building itself has been amazing. But I guess when I just looking at the football team, when you can establish a level of toughness and kind of have that, and I think that can carry over from year to year. That's hard to do, and I think we have that right now. So we're starting with the base of that, which is encouraging. So that's the one thing, and I know I mentioned that already, but the mental and physical toughness of the football team has continued to show up throughout the year last year. So that's a good base to start with.
When you scout and evaluate your guys that you have in the building from a personnel perspective, what are the things that you preach to these scouts and these people in place as to what you're looking for the roster?
Well, it kind of varies by position, and a lot of that varies based on what we're going to be on offense and defense. But for every player, like a drive and desire to be great, those are two traits that you just have to have in this league. Because every team is good, every team has talent, but when we bring players in here, you got to have a drive to be great and a drive to be better and get work in. What I've noticed, at least so far, is how many players right now are coming to our building to work out on their own in the off season. It's not like that everywhere. And that shows you right there, the guys, they want to be around each other, and they want to do things to make them a better football player. So that's a base part of it. I'm seeing that already. It's pretty early in the process, but I kind of noticed that already.
Tom?
Antonio talked about from day one embracing the Raider culture, the bravado, all of that. He's been known to go on some podcasts and say some things. Are you cool with that? Are you fine with him? Just that's who he is, and being fine with things.
I am. Plus, I'm so boring. It'll kind of even its way out because I never say anything that's remotely interesting, and he's the other way. So I think it's kind of be good for the Raiders. But I think it's great. You want to have an identity of who you are, and I want to lean into the Raiders' identity, and that's part of the Raiders' identity. So it doesn't bother me. I kind of like it.
Tom, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Initial offensive line. What was your evaluation of that unit last year? What do you look at as far as guys in the market like Andre and Jermaine?
As a group of five, they did a pretty good job in pass protection. And run game wasn't bad as well. Third down, it's everybody involved. Third down wasn't great. Red zone play wasn't really good, but as far as they held up pretty well last year. A group that was kind of put together, a little bit draft, a little bit of free agency, a little bit of late signings. So we'd like to get some consistency in there with that group. Usually O-line consistency takes a number of years to get there. You're talking about 5 starters plus you need at least 2 more after that are really can come in and play. So it just takes time to kind of build that and get that together. And I'd like to have a group that's kind of plays together consistently. Even in the free agency era, it's hard, but you still kind of get there. So it may take some time to get it exactly where you want it. But we've got some areas there that it's. The free agency, we got some holes there. So.
What is your philosophy when it comes to free agency about building the team and maybe not going too deep into free agency, kind of building it with the draft as well?
Yeah, I mean the philosophy is we want to re-sign our own players rather than go sign somebody else's UFAs. That's the philosophy. However, you do have to supplement your roster with UFAs, and then this year with where we are, we're going to have to sign some free agents. That's basically it's an all new regime as far as coaches and GM, and there's some things we need to do to get up and running. So we may have to use free agency a little more this year than typically I would like, but it's going to be part of the process. You just have to be very careful in free agency. I mean, I know the cap went up this year, which is great, but it doesn't matter if it's 255 or 555. Like, it's the same group of players that are available. And unfortunately, the success rate isn't that high. You know, in football, when you change teams as a free agent, so, and you know, very few of those guys even finish their contract when they sign a big UFA contract. So, got to be very cautious with it, spend the money wisely. But yeah, we're going to have to, you know, probably go that route a little bit more this year than usual. But you have to use all avenues in this league between free agency, draft, street players, trades. Like, you just can't really have, hey, we're draft only. It just doesn't work.
Tom, looking at, you just admitted you're going to need to sign some free agents. You've got to be extremely happy when you look at your salary cap situation.
Yeah, like I said, you just got to spend it wisely. But, you know, a lot of that money, you know, it's not like we're going to take all that money and spend it all on free agents this year. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, extensions for our own players, even having money forward for when we have other bigger contracts we have to do. But yeah, to be in a situation that we do have some to spend, yeah, it's better than the alternative, right? So we got some work to do.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.